All right, so moving on to the solver part. Um, there's nothing much happening inside the solver. It's just me injecting the velocity and the angular velocity when the pieces get activated, and then setting some pop speed limit. But before we talk about in depth about the solver, I want to show you what I've done for the collisions on the ground, so that the RBD pieces can have something to fall on when they get activated. So I'm just taking the second deformation stage of the ground, and I'm splitting it, just taking the sim area, and all I'm doing is just grabbing the parts where, isolating the parts where the pieces are active, because I don't really need extra collision when pieces don't interact with them anyway. So just trying to optimize the collisions, and we can see some unconnected points here. So I'm using the add sop to remove those unused points. Next, I'll be extruding the volume, extruding down the plane, because right now it's just a plane, right? Extrude volume down, and now we've got this geometry that has got all these nice details for collision. And this is, I don't think I'll be using this on another solver, but we're not using it um for the RBD solver. So what I'm doing to set the collisions is using basically just scattering scattering some spheres into the ground. Um, where probably the best way right now it would be to make a height field for the ground instead. So under collisions, the ground collisions here on the RBD solver, we can set it to height field. The height field is a lot faster, but I've already got this node to use. So it's pretty simple, this node. All we do is convert convert the polygons to VDB. Now we got the VDB, and then using a node called VDB to spheres, convert these into spheres, and all we have to do is reduce the minimum radius and increase the max spheres. Maybe add bigger pieces, increase the point count, lower the radius again, maybe. Cool, maybe something like this. Maybe some more. That's probably good enough. Cool. So now we've got all these spheres scattered on the VDB into the VDB. We can see that they're all just spheres at the moment, which is good for us, because now we can just use the RBD configure sop and say, hey, I've got all these spheres, 4,814 of them. Let's make them inactive and not animated and not deforming, because these are just static spheres. And the most important part is under the collision shape. Tick on geometry representation and tell it to use sphere. So now if you put down an RBD solver, and let's just create a pig head for now. configure this. Easy. Then using this as a collision geometry. And now, if we just have a look, you can see our collision is now read in as fierce. It's pretty fast. Nothing crazy with this technique. It's just something convenient. Oops. 2. And it's colliding accurately. Perfect. So that's all I did inside this HGA. Important thing again is to create the name prefix. So if you see under points, the name is just called surface. Everyone's called surface. We can delete that name before we configure it. And then let the RBD configures create that name for us. Perfect. If I just back off a bit and just delete this, delete the name, say ground, scene view. What you can see is that we're still having the correct thing working. Perfect. So I'm just deleting the name that's been generated by the VDB. And then configuring this and setting our own name for it. For each individual sphere. Perfect. So that's it for the collision for the ground. That gets fed in to the RBD bullet solver. And inside the bullet solver, the way I'm injecting the velocities is just adding the velocity and the angular velocity from our source into the just active group. The way I got the just active group is very simple. So under the RBD bullet solver node, head down to output tab, and under attributes, you can say age attribute and add active age attribute, and then this will ungray out the just activated group, and then you can name this however you want. So that's very convenient. So only show when the pieces just got activated. Then just add those velocities and angular velocities in when you've only just been activated. After you're activated, we're not in the group anymore. So yeah, all I'm doing is just creating that just active group and injecting the velocities and angular velocities from our source rigids into the RBD. Cool. So that's pretty much it, I think. There's nothing special in this RBD solver. Setting some animation on the drag pieces, on the drag forces. Making sure I'm also transferring all the unnecessary attributes I need for caching. All right. Cool, guys. Thanks.